Okay, in this video, we're going to have a look at a slightly more complex chart. So we're going to go to this data set 2. And here again, we've got the product categories, but instead of just one sales column, we've got multiple sales columns over here. So the same principle applies if you wanted to chart all of these columns together. We simply select the full data range, including the headers. We then go to the Insert tab, and we can directly select a particular chart type from these icons over here. Or if we want to see all the chart types, we click on the recommended charts. And also note that you don't only have to select a recommended chart, you can click on the All Charts tab over there, and then you can go through the various chart types in terms of selecting what you want. So if we wanted to, for example, simply have a column chart, and I said okay, it's created a column chart. So you can see each of the different product categories are listed over here, and each region is then shown next to each product category in different colors for each region. Now, what would happen if we, for example, only wanted to show the northern region and the, let's say, the eastern region? So if we only wanted the northern region and the eastern region, there's more than one way in which we can do this. I'm going to show you the first method, and then we'll come back to the second method. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete this chart. So the way we do it is we actually only need to highlight the data for the northern region, the southern region, as well as the product category. Now the way we do that is we select the product category data as well as the northern region data. Now to select the eastern region data, we keep our control key in, and then we click and drag over the eastern region. So that now selects ranges that are not next to each other. If we have it selected in this particular way, and then we go to Insert and we select the recommended charts, let's go into the column chart. Let's choose a 3D column, and we say okay. You can see this now only has the two regions, the northern region and the eastern region. So on the chart design, I just want to point out that if you click on Select Data, you can see the chart range is selected over here. So the chart range is now not one full chart range, but it's two separate ranges consisting of this range. You can see here A1 to B10 is highlighted over there, and then there's a comma, and then D1 to D10 is a separate range. The chart data range would then consist of each of these two separate ranges. Now in this area of selecting the data source, you can remove ranges. So if I, for example, selected the eastern range and said remove, I'd basically be able to remove it. You can also re-enter in the data range over here. So let's say we highlighted it and deleted it. And if I now go and reselect the full range, it effectively now selects all of the regions again. So you can see all the regions have been entered because I've selected the full range. And from this particular point, I could also remove ranges. So I could, for example, say that I didn't want the southern. So I could select the southern range and I could remove it. I could select the western range and I could remove it. So we were left with these two ranges over here. And as I remove those ranges, it automatically changed what the data range is here on the top as well. So Excel automatically adjusted that to now cater for only those two separate ranges. I also want to point out that you can move items above. So if I wanted the eastern range to come first, I can just click on select the eastern range over here, and then click on the move up icon, and that moves the eastern range to the top. So you can see the eastern range now comes first, followed by the northern range. It is also possible to manually use the Select Data Source dialog box to add the ranges that you want. So let me show you that from scratch. Let's click on Cancel and let's delete this chart. So the way we do that is we go into the Insert icon and we select a chart. Let's just insert a 2D column chart, and you can see it's totally blank. Now if I go into the Select Data, I can build it up manually. So the first thing we're going to enter in is the values, which is the series, the legend entries for the series. So we click on the add icon. So it says, what is the series name? So let's assume we wanted the northern region. We could type in the word northern region over here, but since it's already in the cell, I'll simply click on that cell. And then for the series values, you see it's got a 1 in there. What you want to do is delete all of that. So highlight it, select it and highlight it, and press the backspace to delete it. Now for the series values, you're going to put in the actual numbers. We are going to select all the numbers for the northern region. Now remember, the series name is northern region, and the series values are these values for the northern region. And if I say OK, you can now see that it's entered it into a graph. So here, all of these sales numbers over here are listed over here. The one thing you'll see immediately is that the horizontal category axis labels are these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these ones over here. So we want to change that. So the way to do that is we're going to click on Edit, and what we want to change it to is this product category names. So we select all the product category names. This range becomes the labels for the axis, for the x-axis, and we say OK, and now you can see that the horizontal axis labels are entered in over here. Now to add in another series range or another range of values, you simply click on add, and we follow the same process. So if we wanted to, for example, add the Western region, we click on the Western region here as the name of the series. Just to show you, I don't have to actually use a formula here. I could even just type in Western A. Let's just call it Western A to show you a difference. And then for the series values, we're going to delete what's there, and we're going to select this range over here, which is the Western region values. And if I say OK, you can see now, and we say OK again, it's now added the Western range. Now, one of the things that you should note is that there are a number of different elements to a chart, right? So this is the whole chart area. This is the horizontal axis values. This is the vertical axis, which is the rand values in this particular case. Now, one of the things that's missing here is we don't actually know which series actually represents what. So you can add different chart elements by clicking on this plus icon right on the top right of the chart. If I click on that, it gives me the various element options. So you can see, for example, if I tick the axes off, it basically hides the axes, both the X and the Y axes. If I turn them back on, both the vertical and the horizontal axes then reappear. We can add data labels. So data labels are actually showing the rand amounts on top of each bar. Let's turn that off. We can also add in a data table. If I click on that, it adds a data table at the bottom. Typically, we would want to expand this so that it actually is easier to view. So it shows you the actual data. And here you can see now that what we typed in as Western A is the orange one. This was manually typed in as the name of the series. Turning off the data table then. And one of the things that we would want here is a legend. So we click on the legend. So this is the legend that explains what each color represents, or what each series represents, this being the northern region and the western region. So whatever we do here in terms of the chart elements, it's also available under the chart design tab. If you see here, the first option on the chart layout is the chart element, and if I click on the drop down, it's the same option. So continuing to look at the chart elements, if I tick on the axis titles, you can see it adds a title over here, which we can just double click and edit, and we can just type in here, for example, this represents product categories. And the axis title over here, we can double click on it and tell it that this represents the sales. So now that's the way you would add in the axis titles. If we go to the other chart elements, you can also add in an overall chart title. So you can put in, this is the sales for whichever year. So sales for the year, for example. So an overall description of what the chart is about. Data labels we've already covered. Now, one of the things with data labels, you can see here that they're overlapping each other. So you'd normally need to have a large chart to effectively be able to see everything. In a particular case like this, what you can do is you can click, once you have your chart selected, you can click on Move Chart, and we can now move it to its own new sheet. So you can see it's currently an object in data set 2, but if we move it into a new sheet called chart 6 and we say OK, you can actually see that now the data labels are much more easier to read because there's more space. You can also manually move a particular one. I can select just this one and manually drag it away so that it's not overlapping with the other number. So to move it back, we can simply actually click on Move Chart, and then moving it from its own sheet, we can move it back as an object in whichever sheet we want. So it was in data set 2, so we select that on the drop down over there. This will list all the different sheets in the file. So I'll select that data set 2 and click on OK, and it basically brings us back here. To remove the data labels, we can click on this chart elements option and tick off the data labels. We've already looked at the data table, which is just giving us the data at the bottom. And then there are also the grid lines, which you can turn off and on, as you can see over there. The legend, which we've looked at as well. And for certain types of graphs, a trend line may make sense. In this particular graph, it doesn't, because we're not looking at things over time. But if we were, we could have added a trend line in based on any particular number. So if I said OK, for example, you can see it's doing a trend line. But again, it doesn't really make sense in this particular set of data. It makes more sense if you're looking at, say, sales over a number of months or over years, and you could then actually build a trend line on top of it.